So this video is specifically for you if you also have a tendency or have had a tendency to slide into that let me prove you energy, right? This used to be the biggest motivator for me to do something. If someone said that they don't believe that I have what it takes to do something, or whether they think that my idea is not actually be able to be actualized or followed through kind of thing, that used to give me so much energy and drive and willpower, right? To let me prove you, right? And it just happened again this last week, right? And I thought I'd do a video on it. Not even just so much, I hope it's inspiring to you, or it is helpful to you, but also for myself as a reminder, right? Maybe I need to watch this video a few more times in the future. But as you know, I have some plans on getting a tiny home, right? And I get a lot as I start speaking about it to people, what my plans and my ideas are and what my vision about this is. There's a lot of resistance, a lot of people thinking that, oh, you can't do this by yourself. You can't install this, or you can't live in a place that is only 6 meters long, right? I'm planning on having a 6 meters long and 2.4 wide, so it's a very tiny home. and I just felt it, right? And that's something took me a while to actually realize what is actually happening in my body. How can I recognize this early on when this is happening, right? Because I don't want to build this tiny home with an energy of proving anyone anything. I want to build this thing or actualize this idea because this is something that's been calling me for a long time, right? This is something that I want to do for myself, right? None of that old stuff, that old kind of fuel and energy. I don't want to bring this into, right? So for me, that energy this time, it was very light compared to in the past, right? But it's kind of starts really low, and it's almost like a twirling. It's almost like a hurricane kind of twisting that comes up. And I recognized it right away when it happens. As I was even speaking with that person, I really, oh, here it is. And I got curious, and I didn't respond. So I was very proud of myself the way I handled this this time. But in the past, it would have just overtaken me, that energy, right? It's so strong because I didn't even know what I was looking out for. So this might be very different for you, right? So I have different situations where perhaps it was more in a chest that I felt the tightness. It's rarely for me around the throat, but a lot of people have it around the throat. It's almost like they can't speak, a choking kind of sensation. Some people have an energy or a tension, if you like that word better, tension. We can feel tension in our head, around the eyes, or anywhere, right? To get really in tune. And this is just something to practice or put more attention to. You getting better at every day, right? I used to have alarms set for myself that went off randomly. I used to use cues like every time I was lining up in the shops or I had a red light to really tune into my body to feel, is there a tension anywhere? Is there some tightness? Is there some energy twirling? For me, it's often twirling. I don't know. You too? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious if I'm the only one who feels that spinning sensation. Right? If it comes from the bottom, it spins more this way. But if it's in the chest, I can literally feel it more in a front way, in a kind of weird way, right? It might feel strange, but just know that it doesn't matter how it shows up for you. I'm sure there's someone else in the world that experiences that in a similar way. And by us having these conversations around this here, right? You in your comments here as well, the more we feel less alone with this, right? Because for so long I felt like I'm the only weirdo, I'm so strange, I'm so different than anyone else out there. It's not really true, right? But I want to become really aware of that in the moment when these energies come, and when there's like in the past I don't like using the word trigger anymore, but it does, some people like to refer to it as a trigger, because in a PTSD world, like I used to have complex PTSD, a trigger to me was always something that triggers a flashback, where I would have an intense memory of a past. I'm reliving that incident, right? Well, in this instance, it's also triggering some strong emotions, but it's not really a flashback. So I don't like to use the word trigger so much in that regard. Do not confuse people, because I know a lot of you guys are also having PTSD or have had PTSD, had a lot of trauma in your life, right? So I just like hope that is a little bit clearer. But so I try to get really curious when that happens, when I feel it energy, and then I need to get super honest with myself, super honest, because in that moment in the past, if a person would have said, oh, you seriously, you can't do that by yourself, you can't install that by yourself, right? You need someone else to come in and do that for you. If a person would have said that to me, I would have felt hurt, right? In a way. Again, someone who believes I am dumb, or I'm not capable enough, and all this kind of stuff. And I would have had a lot of anger and resentment and irritation, that kind of energy towards that person, right? Well, now, when I get really honest with myself, in that moment when he said that, I had to realize he's a reflection of my inner world, right? Every time I'm thinking about doing that, there is some doubt. I am doubting myself, my ability of doing this. And he's reflecting that to me. Right? It doesn't make it any easier to know that this is within, but that helps me then to recognize if something a person out there says, and it kind of gets that energy going within me, I pause and I listen. What is it there? What is this showing me? What is this teaching me? What kind of message is in the situation, right? Cutting out that person has nothing to do with that person, right? That person is a mirror in that moment to reflect something within me. Like in this instant, it was me doubting myself, right? Other times it was that I still didn't think that I am worthy of having this, or that whatever it is, right? That there is usually some shame or some, there's not good enough kind of feelings underneath, right? This is how I am with myself. If you still have a lot of hate towards yourself, if you're constantly criticizing yourself, then if there's a person coming into your life who is criticizing you, there is some energy coming, right? Can you recognize this now in your own life, in your own situations, right? For you, that my situation might not do nothing for you. I don't know what it is for you. Maybe someone giving you some feedback on a piece of art that you created, or maybe it is someone at work commenting on how you set up your area, or whatever. We all have our little things that get us hooked. And when that happens, just pause a little bit and get really still and see, what is it actually that I am telling myself about this, right? And when we can bring some kindness, some gentleness to that mixture, it just kind of dissolves this. It stops us from creating this huge suffering, right, that goes on for days and weeks. We kind of stew over this situation and we ruminate about it, and we replay it in our heads, and next time if that happens, I'm gonna say this or that, right? You ever done that? Oh man, I've had so many of those kind of things going on in my head in the past, right? But now I realize the more I can get still in that moment and go inward and look at, what am I telling myself about myself in this situation? I hope that makes sense. Please let me know in the comments. I just thought I wanted to share that, because this is something that has been coming up in my life a lot. I had a lot of therapy sessions on this at the beginning, because it was just so overwhelming. There was, yeah, it was almost debilitating in a way. Like I couldn't study. It was really interfere with my life. Well, now it still shows up. I noticed it showing up at times. So there's still some remnants, let's call them remnants there, right? A slight tint, a slight flavor of it. So it's not fully resolved, but to be okay. All those situations are opportunities for us. I hope you hear that. It's an opportunity for me to treat myself differently now than abusive people did in the past. Treat myself the way I would have liked to be treated as when I was a child, suffering, in pain, right? I can give myself that gentleness. I can give myself that kindness. I can give myself that love, that acceptance, that appreciation, whatever it is, right? I can give that to myself now. That is where the healing is. That's how we dissolve those icky, sticky kind of things that are still within us, that trap those energies, that create that tension in our body, right? I want to let go. Okay, I think that's enough for now. Okay, see you guys. Bye.